Welcome to this episode of the Digital President Podcast, where we're going to be talking about the goal process, how to break down any goal to take you from where you are to where you want to go, whether it's personal, whether it's relationship, anything. This is the principle of deconstructing. When you get clarity, you take action. So let's get started.
I'm Michael Reese,
And I'm Woods Davis.
and this is the Digital President Podcast.
We've cracked the code for generating customers online for every business model.
In fact, we wrote the book on it.
We've built multiple multi-million-dollar businesses in as little as 90 days. And the one truth that we discovered is
The best business model is doing what you love and living your life by strategy.
you truly can follow your passion and create the life of your dreams.
As long as you have the right strategy.
You're excited today.
I am excited today, man.
Goal crusher.
I'm excited about the goal process. One of the reasons is because what excites me, Woods, is when we can literally pick our topics based upon real things that have had a significant impact on our lives. And the more recent, the more excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about recent, so there's been a lot of things that we've been using this process for. And I love how in the introduction you were talking about your personal life. You know, this is this could be applied to your fitness, to your health, to your relationships, to your business, everything.
Yes, sir.
And it's the principles. Once you can capture these principles, you can apply them to any area of your life.
So one thing that I know for sure is I am a very goal-oriented person. And so I know that I've had the privilege. A lot of this, to be completely transparent, has been, in the last 2 years working with you specifically. I mean, we've been working together for a long time, but working closely on specific things I've learned about myself and with other people as well. But specifically, I can think of certain things where I just need to know the goal. And
You won't move forward unless you know the goal.
it's
period.
very, and I don't know that I was always that way, but whether it's the goal for the project, the goal for your life, and what I want to talk about from this episode, just because the alignment of the timing and the seasonality is, I want to share a real quick story.
Mhm.
First of all, motivation is something it's is easily lost and
Comes
hard
and
to
goes.
find,
Yeah.
right? And what I think is that when you have motivation, that's good and that's great. I was introduced to David Goggins with you. We hung out with him, one of the world's most um,
Toughest athletes.
toughest athletes on the planet. And one of the things that I remembered him saying was that you have to have beyond motivation. And so when I say beyond motivation, I've experienced that. I mean, motivation will only take you so far. And so getting a goal and really kind of learning the framework that we're going to talk about today is, I think we can share some concepts of how this applies to your personal life. I think a lot of people that are going to be on here, I would like to really make sure we drill down for our entrepreneurs, marketers, professional service people who might be looking to write a book. Since we did have a recent conversation about that, I think it's really important with a lot of people to understand how we use this process to actually write the book
Mhm.
and where it fits in. I think that would be something good. But if you understand how it relates to everyday life, I think you distill down the fundamental principles. So one of the things that I know that we set out to do was run 60 miles. And so next month we have a race where we're going to run 60 miles straight.
You nervous?
I'm actually not nervous. But I would tell you that if every time, if I should be nervous, it would be because I really didn't follow the process.
Right.
That would be the only reason, because I think you can accomplish any goal if you follow the process. So, with that being said, I don't. I want to share specifically from your perspective, and I know that you use this process all the time. How would you tell somebody to get clear on their goals, understanding the goal process now, in a simple way that could be understood in a podcast like
Man,
this?
the kind of the magic formula for me and for us, I mean, it always seems to work out this way, is break it down into 7 steps. Break it down. If you can just break the goal down, we call it deconstructing, right? Deconstruction is just break the goal down into 7 steps. Okay, what do you have to do to start? Step 1, step 2, all the way down to 7. and that can help you get clear when you start trying to, because the challenge is, over processing it, getting too granular. But I found that if you just do 7 steps, it makes it a lot easier.
And it's definitely easier to teach. I mean, to me, it's like if I was teaching my son, I would tell him, hey, listen, it's like baking a cake. What are the 7 things you need in order to have the end result? The goal being the cake.
Hmm.
What are the things you need? And so, one of the examples that we've used, and one of the things that we use when we do those steps is we find that those steps end up being a lot of the times that, like I'm kind of, this is breaking down a goal. We're talking about if you want to go get physical fit, whatever. But if you might have something you do that you teach other people on they can do. So now that's their goal. And now you teach the 7 steps.
Hmm.
And those 7 steps are your method, are your methodology. So understanding the art of deconstruction is really not only a way of learning, it's a way of teaching. It's a way of accomplishing, because when you learn something, you get clarity. When you get clarity on the steps in the order, then you can take action. When you're unclear, you get overwhelmed, you get confused. And number one thing that causes people to not take action is overwhelm. When you
Right.
get overwhelmed or priority confusion, and it's a linear process as well. So what I would say is, think about it like robbing a bank. If you're going to rob a bank, what do you got to do? You got to pick out the bank. You got to pick a day. You got to pick a getaway car. I actually have these written out in the actual sequential order. But imagine if you ended on and then you got to rob the bank. But the desired outcome is you had to get away. So it's not just that you had to rob a bank. You put, my desire is to rob a bank and get away with it. All right, here's the steps. Find a bank off the highway in a town less than 50,000. Now that's my method, because that's my method. That is how to do it fast and get away. Or find a bank, do it by yourself, write a note, don't use a gun, and make sure the bank is by a park densely populated with this, and do it the last 5 minutes before the bank's going to close. That's my method, right? So
Right.
so now I can teach you the 7 steps to rob the bank, or I can teach you my methodology for robbing a bank. So the
Right.
cool thing about this is this process that we call the goal process. Not only does it help you with deconstructing a goal, it helps us if we're trying to run a 60-mile run. We're like, okay, we want to run 60 miles. Let me tell you something. If you want to run 60 miles, you're going to learn really quick. Get shoes. Okay, now
Get the
you
right shoes.
get
Yeah,
the right
you're
shoe.
gonna learn that first off.
Yeah.
You're gonna probably lose a toenail.
You're
or
going to lose
two.
a couple toenails, and then you're going to learn shoes. And then after 2 hours, if you're really good, you're going to learn about nutrition,
Salt pills.
salt pills. You're going to learn about taking in X amount of calories every hour you run. And then you're going to learn about the importance of water and hydration and all this stuff. And so without getting too complex, if I'm writing a book, think about my book. My book, I did the actual research. There's a book on how women to run, women over 40, women over 40 first marathon, right? That was that. When we did our book, we knew what the goal of our desired outcome. So if you're in professional services, an attorney, doctor, chiropractor, real estate investor, anything like that related. If you're a marketer, you just, whatever it is, think about the other person. If you're in the business of providing products or services, the art of deconstructing that we're talking about, do it for yourself so that you can experience it, and then start doing it through all of your teaching. It's going to help you with deconstructing your talks, if you do talks from keynotes on stage, it's going to help you with webinars, it's going to help you with teaching, it's going to help you with doing the modules, or just conceptually just getting somebody to grasp an idea. Because listen, desire is such an important element as it relates to moving people and persuading them, because people who have a desire in their heart are already naturally pointed in a direction, and that desire might be a desire to have a certain outcome. That outcome could be, I have a desire to have a motorcycle, or I have a desire to not have to walk anymore. It can be a bus, it could be, or I could have a desire to have a car, or I could have a desire to have a new car with a convertible. Like, everybody has desires. But if you understand the desires in your clients, if you truly understand them and you can deconstruct how you get them those desires,
Mm-hmm.
then your ability to effectively communicate why someone should do business with you and how you're different is significantly increased.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think about like, especially getting people to their desired outcomes or achieving a big goal. What prevents people from doing it? Number one, people don't set big goals because they don't believe that they can achieve them. They've never, maybe they don't have this process and this framework for breaking down a goal or breaking down their desired outcome in a way that they know they can achieve it. I mean, how confident are you that when you set a goal, you can achieve it?
I know before I even start.
Right. Because you're going to go through the process. You're not going to just say, hey, I'm going to run 60 miles. You're going to break that sucker down. And it's no difference in business. I mean, you're not just going to say, hey, I'm going to go make $1 million. I'm going to break that down. Okay, what does that look like? Well, no, I'm going to go get 1,000 clients that are all paying me $1,000, and that's how I'm going to get my million. And I'm going to sell, this amount every single month. Right? You're going to break that goal down, and then it becomes achievable. And also, like you were saying, like when you communicate it to other people, you know you raise their level of belief because you have thought through the process and you can articulate it. And especially if you can keep it simple and break it down into, like we were talking earlier about, just like 7 steps, then they can grasp onto that. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I can do this, I can accomplish this. And if you're their guide, and especially when it comes to like writing a book or something like that, or anybody who's in business, if you become their guide and you're teaching them this methodology and they believe it and they believe that they can do it, man, you're motivating them in a way that's going to help them take action. and
Absolutely.
and I mean, and that's all we're trying to do. I mean, I'm trying in my life in every area, I'm trying to take action to be able to hit my goals. I have big goals, and I break those suckers down. And if I don't have them broken down, they don't get accomplished. They don't get accomplished because a goal without a plan is nothing.
It's a dream.
Yeah, absolutely. And hope is not a strategy.
Yeah, so I love that, man. As it relates to, so me and you, we actually, this was one of the first years that I actually included somebody else in my goal setting. Like me and you sat down in a room, and one of the things, and I'm just gonna go kind of on a personal level to help people understand. First of all, the personal goals supersede to me the business goals, because if you end up accomplishing all your business goals and you sacrifice your personal life, you really had success without fulfillment in my mind.
Yeah.
So taking the time in the goal process, of understanding what your big goals are in life, not related to money, but and so we take people through this exercise, and we really deconstruct the things that are the most important to them. Now, these are just mental models. I mean, think about, if you've ever heard somebody say, if you could have one last thing to eat, what would it be? Well, what they're really saying is, what's your favorite thing? I mean, you'd never not eat your favorite thing if there was only one last thing to eat, right?
Right.
And so those are ways for processing, decisions. And the cool thing about the way your brain works is that your brain goes and tries to find the answer to the questions that you ask it. So question storming is very important. And I'll never forget, we were in the office. We were in my home office, sitting in these chairs, relaxed, up in the Hip Factory, having a great conversation. And you were the one asking me a question.
Mm-hmm.
And you asked me a question, and I said, let me tell you something. I don't know. I don't know right now, because we just started. And I couldn't, you were asking me goal questions like, hey, well, what about this? What about that? And I just know I say, here's what I do know. I know what I don't want to do, right? And that's like the process it's called adversion. Like when you can't say something, say what you know you didn't want.
Right.
And so I just remembered, for me, like, I'm in all of these meetings up to this point. And like, I'm in so many meetings, I can't even, and the meetings that I was in were coming into my calendar at a rate that I couldn't keep up with them. And so I knew right then and there, and this got out of hand. I mean, when you start growing a business, and I remember Dan Kennedy sharing this, he was like, hey, listen, you start this way, but you don't know you're going to end up over here and end up over here. And I think the best life to live is a life by strategy. And so I was like, let me tell you something. Let me tell you what I didn't like about this past year. And I wrote it out. And I'll tell you what I loved. And so I had this experience with working with this particular team where we just killed it. And here's what I know. I like to drive home every day feeling like I won.
Yeah.
Now, I have a higher threshold for losing, meaning not that I lose, but my ability still to believe that I can win when I'm losing is high. So I don't give up is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when everybody else thinks lost is infinite, I believe that winning is still an opportunity. So therefore, I continue to take action. Other people get discouraged. I say their beliefs start to diminish.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember that's when I go into determination, not just motivation. Motivation is easily lost and it's hard to find. Determination is when that you are so focused on why you're doing what you're doing. And it's above and beyond any monetary, type deal. It's extremely it's you understand. I'm doing this for this reason. So for me, the why got real clear. I knew the things in my life that I was neglecting. And here's a footnote. Be honest. Be honest with yourself. I mean, if I was going to go interview your spouse, every one of us knows this answer at one point in our life. If our spouse said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how is XYZ doing at this particular area as it relates to work-life balance?
Yeah.
You know what they would say? They might just say you're not doing a great job.
Right.
And so sometimes, you know what? You might know what to do, but do your results reflect that you know what to do? And so what I believe is that I'll listen. I will, once I get a goal, I will do whatever it takes. I'll sacrifice. I know the sacrifice I'm willing to take, which is one of the things about getting to a goal. Getting to a goal, in my opinion, is not just, it's pointing, it's knowing what you got to do daily in order to get there. So getting clear on the process and the steps, and then knowing what you're going to do in the logical order that you're going to get there. And then most importantly, what you're going to sacrifice. What are you going to actually give up? Are you going to give up time to learn?
Sleep.
Are you going to give up time to study? Are you going to give up sleep to move the ball because you are in a situation where you don't have a lot of extra time, so you have to make time? And so what I know is this, is that any goal that you set for yourself, like Woods just said earlier, if you deconstruct it and break it down, and when we set our goals by literally we got the big goals. We were big goals. We were big. Like, what do we want? And let me just let me recap here. And we did them in relation to our life first. Because let me tell you something. When we knew with clearly that the best life to live was a life by strategy, and what that meant to us, what that actually meant to us, what a life by strategy meant to us, what we knew we were working for, not when we were working, because when we were working, you had to know what you were working for to make the working not feel like work, to feel like a step in the process, not a place like a destination that you were going to be forever. And so for me, when we did the goals and we said, here's what I like. One thing I liked, I love working project based. I love a defined start and a defined end. That's my favorite thing. And let me tell you what I learned. And I've learned this recently. I hate not having the resources.
Yeah.
I hate not having the resources to do the job in an efficient manner. I would say that the biggest thing that I regret this year, admittedly, is that having a clear goal, having all the steps deconstructed, and not the resource, the proper allocation of resource. I wouldn't take it back. But I know going forward, if I could have a dream, I have a dream. Then I'm starting day one, and I'm going to get a project. A 2-week project ain't going to take me 6 months. You know what I mean? And so I like to be project-based. I like to have all the resources that I need And when I say that, I'm not talking about $1 million resources. I'm just saying, like, if I need something and it's outside of my skill set, I don't want to have to learn that and do that. I want to be able to kick that over the fence to the person, project based
Design.
design. Yeah.
That seems like that's always such a big bottleneck.
And we removed that bottleneck.
Right.
And I like to have leverage,
Yep.
right? So we did that. We got clear on the goals, and I'm just trying to think back when, and I'm trying to help. We did what I would say was, the perfect day, right? We went down and broke down um what that day looked like, and I think I think what's important for people to understand is these are just mental models, question storming, getting clear, understanding what success looks like, taking those times. That then empowers you to actually then do the next step. And I believe that if you can do that in relationship to business, um, it's
Well,
it's huge. It's I want to say um, it creates compounding momentum.
yeah. And I know what's crazy is sometimes people get frustrated and don't want to take the time to get clear and go through that process up front. People want to just dive in,
Yeah.
I mean, people want to, people that are you're trying to run an ultra marathon. It's like, okay, I'm pumped up. I'm motivated in the moment, right? I got a little piece of motivation. So let's go. Let's act, right now. Let's go run right now. And then they end up with, bruised feet because they didn't take the time and plan up front. And that's the way it is in business. We get excited about something, get motivated in the moment, and and then we take action, want to start just acting immediately instead of taking the time to clearly break down the goal, make sure that you have the right goal, and make sure that you've broken it down, deconstructed it, and you have all those resources in place. You have the plan.
Yeah, the plan's important. So one of the things that I would say is in the goal process, like we said, the goal can apply to all the different areas of your life. You want to be able to niche those out. And if you haven't, and I'm telling you just from personal experience, I don't know about you, but when I'm on my fitness game, all my other games are improved.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like we're not just talking about, I mean, if you want to write a book, if you want to double your business, if you want to do something big in your business, then one of the ways to increase the probability that you're going to do it is get on your game. I mean, it's like if it's my mom, I would say, Mom, go for a walk, right?
Yeah.
Make it a priority and make it an excuse. What is your fitness goal this year? If you don't have a fitness goal this year, I'm not trying to make this about fitness, even though I'm very passionate about helping people become the best they can be and to shut up the BS mindset that they have that's holding them back. I'm just saying, from my experience, that I am more on my game when I am on my game. And it is very hard to be a slouch in one area
Yeah.
and then be killing it in another. And so
You're right.
I'm telling you, your ability to manage and be disciplined and get things done, you need to ask yourself, if I got goals this year, if you're not setting goals, let's start there. Let's set some crazy, amazing, very specific goals. You got to check out the goal process. Um, you can go to is it on the site?
Yeah, you can go to digitalpresident.com/goal process.
Yeah, and so you can go there, and we broke it down. We actually have the entire process broken down, and we can walk you through setting your goals. But all I'm telling you is if you haven't set your goals, set your goals. I'm not over exaggerating it. If you have something that you want to accomplish with your business, then put it as, what is your desire? Let's break that down. What is your desire? And so maybe we can just randomly do it as let's say somebody does have a desire to write a book. I mean, that just seems like the clear, obvious example.
Right.
Let's break it down.
All right. Well, step one is why. Why do you want to write the book? Who are you writing the book for? Right? What is the desired outcome for the book? Are you writing a book to become a best-selling author? Are you writing a book because you have a business and you want to be
Is it a
able to get
fiction, nonfiction
clients?
books? Are you trying to
Right.
get customers? Desired outcome,
Right.
right?
What's the desired
Let's say,
outcome?
so let's just say that I want to write a book to get more customers. That's now the middle circle. That's my desire.
Right.
Now
So
what's step one?
yeah. So step one is if you want to write a book to get customers, then you gotta identify first of all what is going to be the title of your book.
Okay, so this exercise is a good title, good exercise. So when we did ours, we started with the target market, right?
Right.
So we said who is our target market, right? And it's a balance. It really is a balance. It's because we did do title, but we because we kind of knew what we were skilled at. And so
Right.
we're never going to write a book about, baking, even though I'm pretty good at it. But we were going to write a book at people getting. So someone says, "All right, I have a goal. I want to grow the business." Do they start? And this, I'm trying to now push. I heard good podcasts are controversial. So I don't know the answer here. I really don't know. And so my question is what you can't put a friend. What is the first step in the process? Is it um
Well, you got to get clear on the goal. I mean, if your goal is to get more customers, first of all, do you know your market? I mean, do you already have a business? Do you have you have an existing business, you're trying to get more customers in your existing business, then you probably already know your market.
right?
So if your goal is to try to get more customers, right, then the first step in trying to is finding out what is their desire, because that's going to be what your book is going to be about, which is going to give you your title,
Right.
your title and your subtitle.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, that's just where I start, is because because again,
So that's step
that's
one.
what the book, yeah, that's
Step
what the
two.
book.
What's step two?
So once you have the title and you've identified their desires, then you got to start creating your core content around that. So you got to actually break that down. You got to break down how you're going to take them on this journey for them to get to their core desire, basically how you're going to deliver the content in your book. And so we actually have a process for that, for identifying the core content. But it's kind of a process where you're just identifying all the topics and all the things that you're going to be talking about, and trying to organize them in a linear process to get them to that desired result.
So step three.
What do you think?
Well, I would say the difference is we use this process, so I know the answers. Um, it's not what I think. I know the answers. I'm not trying to cheat. But what I would say is that if someone was going to deconstruct writing a book, like you said, you'd have to know why, which it's nonfiction. I hope they understand that. Number two, if I know why I'm writing the book and I already decided that that's the answer, then I believe that knowing my target market and if mine's to get customers, then I have to I have to bring my wanting to get customers into that target market and define all the problems that I can solve in that market based upon my end goals to get customers. So if I have a target market, let's say real estate investing, I can help real estate investing people with getting hard money loans. I can help them finding new properties. I can teach them all different kinds of steps in the process. So I have to decide what promise am I going to make. Now, for me, it's really, it's the same as any product development strategy. It's like, do you use a pain or a gain, right? And so working backwards from there, it's okay, this is the problems that here's like the problems that I can solve for this market. And basically what I'm saying is here's the solutions to these situations to get people this. And so I'm taking the target market, and now that I have that understanding, I'm nailing down my core philosophy. And my core philosophy is the steps in which somebody gets to a certain place. From there, I'm taking my core philosophy because for me, I think if I'm trying to get a customer, being able to articulate my philosophy. So like in the gym business, there's Orange Theory, right? It's a philosophy. They have a book. It's about um, the orange zone, the fat burning zone, right? So when I have a philosophy, I have a differentiated way of telling someone how to get somewhere, a different way that's my way, which gives me authority, which makes me build trust. So I'm gonna have my core philosophy, which is based upon my beliefs and experiences. Then I'm gonna have a methodology that I'm gonna be able to clearly articulate. And so there's gonna be critical steps in that process. So if I was writing a book on running a marathon, I'm literally going from, how to run your first marathon. It's gonna be step 7 is gonna be post marathon, and step 1 is gonna be, you know, um, creating your basic running plan in order to complete the marathon. In order to create your plan, you have to know the date that you plan to run it, because you work backwards from a plan. Do you have 8 weeks to prepare, 16 weeks to prepare? So again, the method is going to be elastic to the problem that I think I can solve. I can help a guy run a marathon in 8 weeks if he's never ran one before, or hey, I can help someone run one in 6 months, or I
can
can
help one woman who's over 40
Oh
run
yeah,
one
yeah,
for the
yeah,
first
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what we're saying is that is in that path, and I mean, me and you've done this many a time, so I know we know the answers. I'm just trying to illustrate it for the listener in writing the book. It's core philosophy, methodology, and then for us, we then take our method and then we break it down into core content. And the reason why we do that is if we're teaching someone to get customers, then we're going to take that book and we're going to turn that book into blog posts. We're going to turn that book into call to actions, community. We're going to turn it into an ability when somebody see the book, the nature of a book. If you're going to get customers, then you're going to understand that a book is just a consumption piece. It's linear consumption. The more time people spend with you, the more they trust you. When you're positioned as the author of a book and people understand your philosophy and your methodology and they consume in a linear fashion, and there's free gifts that allow them, hey, here's the place to find out everything you need to know about blisters and shoes. Go to my feet never hurt on my first marathon.com. Like, so there's call to actions that you can put in the book that allow you to deliver value that then are turning around and increasing your probability, whether you have people on the phone that are going to call, which is salespeople that are going to call prospects that have predetermined to have raised their hand or look to be lead qualified to be called, or maybe you don't have salespeople and you trigger marketing based upon different consumption pieces, right? So when we're writing the book, we're gonna know that step in the process, and so for us, once we have that, um, we take the core content and the methodology, and we do our chapter outline, and the chapter outline is going to take, so like our methodology and with Digital President is something that's proven. It's what we did. um Now the thing is it worked because we created authority, but in that step, when you read the book, you're going to hear about building an audience. Well, you're hearing about building an audience, right? And that's a step in the process. Is if when you have a book and people read it, they become part of your audience, people who listen to you, people who go to you. Then we have about writing the book, and we have authority. Two different chapters. They're hand in hand, but they're really like themed and family together. When you write the book, you get authority, and so we have both of them in the book, but they're core critical components of our philosophy. Philosophy is our belief in our experiences. So when we write the book and we lay out the chapters, we're laying out those core pieces, and then what we did was we went back in and we added some of the additional pieces that were critical for our reader to understand, because we could have just said write a book, but there was a lot to the authority piece that was chapter worthy, right? And so we had a complete chapter on authority. In theory, we could have had just 7 chapters, but we didn't. We broke it down and we knew each step in the process. And so we did the chapter outline, then we laid out our chapters, and the chapters were cool because like in the chapters we just really deconstructed the 3 critical things that we felt were most important based upon we knew those chapters needed to stand alone and be like golden bricks, and that if someone read just this chapter, it should be so good that they get extreme value from it without reading the whole book.
Standalone.
Stand alone. So it should have its own hook to get people interested. It should have critical points, which are takeaways for the readers. It should have everything that you need in a chapter. And so we aligned the critical points to our stories, because obviously a book needs to be entertaining. So we did those chapter outlines. And so if I was taking someone through that process, once they have their chapter outlines, they have their core content, then basically we basically took our key components and created what I could say is the manuscript. I'll kind of leave it at that without getting too detailed into the actual step-by-step process that we use in order to help people write books fast that make a lot of money. And I say fast, I think fast is relative. Fast to me is long to most people. But a real book, a good book, so a book that someone's going to give to somebody, not a book that would ever end up in the trash. And so, anyway, I think, if the goal was to write a book that can actually get customers, just so you know, I think I would have just laid out the digital presidents, because I would have built a funnel, and
Had all the call to actions.
and built the audience. And so I think I strayed off of the original desire. My desire was, if I wanted to write the book that would later get me customers, versus, and maybe that is what you said. I'll have to go back and listen to the recording, but regardless, that's what I would do to write the book, and then I would take that core content and that one step in the process that's kind of like our secret sauce, and then I would provide that to the final step in the process that would get me to the manuscript. And with that being said, that's probably my favorite part of the entire process. But that's what I would do, and I think that's relevant because in the goal process, me and you did each one of those steps together in great detail, and we weren't trying to lay out chapters when we didn't even pick out a target market. We had a linear step, and picking out a target market had its own set of steps, and identifying the problems in our market and the ones we were going to solve. We had to take those problems, decide which problems had which value, which is why in our book we talk about the value exchange and the value journey. But that was specifically a step in the process that we had to go through, and that you skip that step, you end up with the book. I showed you a book. Didn't I show you a book a friend of mine wrote?
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah, that was difficult.
Was it good?
No, it wasn't good.
I mean, your first question was like, what did you say to him?
Right.
Yeah, and this dude was
an amazing entrepreneur.
Amazing entrepreneur.
Very qualified in every way, as a business person, just as a leader.
Yeah.
As a communicator, everything.
Stud.
People get hung up, because writing a book for a lot of people is like running a 60-mile race. It's like running an ultra marathon, or it's something.
And it shouldn't be.
It's something huge. It's like climbing Mount Everest. Yeah, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, because you can break it down, and you can break down the goal, apply the process, and you can come out with an amazing book.
Yeah, so I worked with two entrepreneurs that I have probably top 10 most respect for in the planet. I mean, these are two entrepreneurs. One was a girl, one was a guy. The guy spent $5,000 to write a book, had me read it, didn't like it. I gave him real feedback, so he went and dropped another $25,000, hired somebody else, brought it back to me. Still hasn't published the book to this day. Good friend of mine, smart dude, has a lot to give to the world. Then I met a girl who had her book written, showed her the process, super smart girl, and she literally said, "Are you kidding me?" And you know what her process was? She went and rented a Airbnb or something for like a week and just wrote.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I would kill myself. Right? Like, no way I'd be able to write a book that way. A book should be fun. It should be. Let me tell you what a book should be like.
It should be the funnest.
Let me tell you what it should
work
be
of your
like.
life.
It should be like being at a campfire with your kids and your great kids and your great grandkids, telling stories about stuff they're super interested to hear about. I mean, it should be so fun that it's just pouring out of you, and you're like, I'm so sorry, guys. I realize I've been doing all the talking.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, keep going. We want to hear. That's what it should be like.
You're right. That's awesome. What's crazy
So does
is
your book pass the s'mores test? No, I'm joking.
the what?
The s'mores test.
Oh, s'mores test. Yeah. Well, what's crazy is this. You know, we've been talking about the book, but it does apply to everything. We just finished up an amazing webinar, and that webinar, just think about this process. I always used to justify it because I would even say, I would say to people, I say, you know what, it's okay because when we would do a major webinar, I mean, sometimes it would take a month to really nail the webinar and the funnel and dial everything in. And I used to justify it and say, but you know what, every time we do a webinar, you know, this thing's going to produce $3-4 million, so it's okay that it's going to take this long, right? But man, we just finished one up uh, in a couple of weeks. In fact, it should have just been a week because we went back and used the same process, the goal process that we used to write the book. And once we did that, it just flowed out beautifully. In fact, it's converting better than any webinar that we've ever done. And I feel like that when you master the process of deconstructing the goal and lay it out, then that's the way everything becomes in your life. All the hard stuff that you got to do, all the big goals that you have, you can start hitting them. You know, you can start winning in every single thing just by taking the time to be strategic up front, taking the time to get clear on the process.
Yeah, my thing is, you know, I saw this video of Will Smith, and it was talking about I want to die. I will die on the treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
And then I get around these entrepreneurs, and they'll die on the treadmill. They say that, but until it's Friday night. Right?
Yeah.
Like they'll do it when it's convenient. Like during these hours of the day, I'll die on the treadmill. And so, you know, what I would say is in your life, everything that you do or don't do, everything you accomplish or don't accomplish has a price, has an investment. Make sure that you don't set goals and really deconstruct the investment, the sacrifice that's going to be required to hit the goal. And then know that you would never hit that goal if you were to really evaluated that goal by the truth of the sacrifice that you would have to really, truthfully, honestly be willing to make. And I believe that most people are not willing to make and take the sacrifice that it takes to get to the goal. And it's, I'll tell you what, man, and it's really scary how many, I mean, just to make the podcast interesting, I let me tell you something. I hated running.
You ain't the only one.
But if you want to see a dude squirrel around like a stuck little pig, go ask him to run 8 miles with you, 5 miles with you, 4 miles with you. I mean, the excuses come out of nowhere. Now, in a book I read called Living with the Seal, which is actually written about David Goggins by Jesse Etzler, the truth is that I want someone to push me to run at 12:30 at night when I could barely keep my eyes open, and then say, hey, let's go run 8 miles. Right? That's called pushing yourself. I'm not trying to make anyone push themselves, but I will say that, like, most people, what they think they're willing to do and what they're doing, you got to really you have to, all I'm saying is that you got to be hard on yourself a little bit. You don't have to beat yourself up, but you got to be hard on yourself and look at yourself and say, where can I get better? Why did I not hit that goal? If you've set goals for yourself and have not hit them, and you don't reflect and get down to the root, honest cause of why you say stuff and don't do stuff, why you're a hypocrite, why you say you're going to do something and don't get it done, unless like you do that deep work, like truly, and you know why, in the heart of it, and are accountable to it, right? And are accountable to it. Unless you do that, you won't hit your goal.
Man, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true, because then it becomes a pattern.
Yeah.
Of not hitting the goal.
That's way to break that down.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, shoot, we've all done it, man. I mean, dang, I haven't hit every goal that I've ever set. I've been a hypocrite, and but it's like you said, it's that willingness to be self-aware and and be honest with yourself and ask why, because now that's just deconstructing that why. Well, man, now you need to create a plan around that weakness that you have, or you need to create a plan around something that happened or something that you did in order to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I worked with this one niche, these individuals, and they were notorious for not hitting their goals. And there'd be, out of 100 of them, there'd be 10 that hit their goals and 90 that didn't. And it's a joke. It's a joke. And when you talk to them, it's a joke. Quit being a joke. Ask yourself this: where in my life am I being a joke? Where in my life am I being a joke? And when you, all I'm saying, dude, is like when you go quit. Elon Musk says humans' natural tendency is wishful thinking, and Ray Dalio says you should be a hyper realist, right?
Yep.
So, do you know how much weight you put on in the last 6 months? Are you underweight? Are you overweight? Are you at your goal weight? Do you feel good? Do you feel bad? I mean, like, let's face it. You're one decision away from being in the best shape of your life. Now, if we really deconstruct why you have done nothing to move yourself closer to that goal. I'm using this as a primary example because I've watched The Biggest Loser. I've watched 8 people get on the show, not run a mile, be held accountable, set a goal, get some real professionals to tell them what to do when they said, I've tried every single thing I've ever done, and literally go from overweight to skinnier than anybody I've ever seen, running a marathon 6 months later. Why do 6, 8, 10, 11 individuals who are in one scenario, one setting, living life one single way, end up on the polar opposite of the scales, no pun intended, of success, to then be held accountable with the plan, with clear goals, and taking the same action? Time passes no matter what, and they end up in amazing shape because it's a choice.
Well,
and you know what? They had to decide, man. They had to decide, you know what? I actually think I might get on the show. If you're sitting there on your couch, 400 pounds overweight, and you see, would you want to be a contestant on the next 24? I mean, you got to actually get off the couch. That's hard to do in itself. Every step, you got to shoot a video, all that stuff, and then send it out, right? And then they have to contact you. But that you know what they had? Do you know what they had? Do you know what they had? They had desire. They had made the decision that they saw someone else, they heard about somebody else, and that they were going to take a stance, that they were going to make a change. So all I'm saying is, where in your life are you living like the biggest loser? It might be in your closet, your car. Go look at my car.
Your car's looking clean.
It's detailed.
Yeah. I was about to say.
It's the guy. It got the wheels shine, and but that was not because that's what it looked like before.
It's because your wife drove it.
Yeah, that's probably why. Yeah. The point is that where in your life are you slacking? What area? And a buddy of mine who's very successful said, and I heard Gary Keller said it first. He said, me and so-and-so used to get together and we'd look at each other's net worth. Every single Friday, they would do their bank statements and net worth. And one day he went to the meeting and the guy's net worth went up like X amount of dollars. And he was like, man, he started looking at this like, I didn't realize that increased your net worth. And he started becoming aware of the things that were decreasing his net worth and increasing his net worth. And he had this accountability partner that was living a life that he was buying real estate and doing things that had a significant income. And he started playing life like a game on let's build my net worth, right? And so, that all comes to, some people live on credit cards. They're overextended. They're waiting for something to happen, hoping something to happen. I'll never forget a story I heard about John Reese. He was a top internet marketer. He said, I reached under my bed and pulled out a box. I'd been putting the bills in a box forever. I quit paying them. He couldn't afford them. And he said, one day I'd listened to something. I forget what it was. It was on Tony Robbins' Money Masters series that only ran for like 6 months. There was like 6 episodes, and John Reese was one of the episodes. I still have the CD. It was profound because he said he added it all up. He added it all up.
Step one.
And he wanted to stare at it. And he added up every single dollar. And he put it on a place in his bedroom by the door on the wall. So every time he walked out of his bedroom, he had to look at that number. Right? So if you have a goal to get out of debt, if you have the goal to get in shape, if you have a goal to write a book, you got to start by setting the goal and facing it, and then asking yourself, what are the things that I need to do in order to make this goal reality? Instead of just living thinking that
this magically might happen one day, or
Yeah.
that would be nice.
Yeah. So you got to check out what URL did you say they can go to?
digitalpresident.com/goal process.
Goal process. Go check it out. We have a little special treat there for you where we give you kind of more of a visual orientation on how you can literally break down every goal, anything you want, go from where you are to where you want to be. And I'm telling you right now, if you have children, teaching your kids how to think, Edward de Bono is a great book. And that's the same principle. How do you deconstruct? You should be teaching your children, hey, what is your goal? Okay, you want to go to college. What do you think are the things we're going to need to get there? When people can understand those processes and those steps and the logical in that order, it changes their behavior. So break down your goals and go check it out. We are only trying to help you get to where you want to be. They're your goals, not ours.
Yeah, absolutely. So check out the goal process. You can do it. Michael, appreciate you, brother. You dropping some knowledge today, man.
You're dropping knowledge today.
Hey, well, all I know is that you've had a big impact on me, helping me with my goals. I mean, I've always set goals. I've always tried to achieve them, and I think one of the things that you've helped me be aware of is the process around them, and really being hyper real, and getting clear on what it takes to hit them, man. And man, I'm grateful for that, and I really sincerely hope that everybody who's listening to this podcast goes and checks out the goal process at digitalpresident.com/goal process, and man, just start living your life in a way to where you can hit your goals, and you can just have an amazing life. It's right here. It's just a decision to win.